Good morning, friends. I'd like to make this more informal and speak from here, because I don't want a distance between me and the audience. I also want to come up to your level rather than stand there and talk. And with all your permission, I also want to make this interactive. There is no question answer time at the end. Anytime you can ask me questions if you have questions on what I'm saying. To start off with, a big thank you to this college and an equally big thank you to Dr. Biju for having given me the chance to be among all of you. It's a very, very special honor from me. I must say this, the moment I landed this morning in Kannur airport and switched on my mobile, a student of this college called me up and said, "Sir, have you landed?" I said, "Yes, just landed." "Okay, sir, we are waiting outside to receive you." I've never had such a spontaneous welcome, where the moment you land and you switch on your phone, there is a call waiting for you from your host. And of course, it was a wonderful ride with two students from here. They kept me awake, even though I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning. They kept me awake today discussing Kerala politics, my state and the area. And before we knew, we had already reached the hotel here. And whenever I have come to Kerala, I have always felt excited, invigorated and recharged because of the wonderful audience that I have had a chance to speak to. And I hope you will not disappoint me today. Hope the next time I come to Kerala, I will say, last time when I came, there was such a wonderful audience that I spoke to. Yes or no? Yes. Even though I wear a hearing aid, I cannot hear you. Yes or no? Yes. Thank you. Friends, I am lucky to have been in the research and teaching field now for more than 42 years. It makes you feel old, madam, that now it's 42 years you have been in this world. But why am I saying that? In the last 42 years, more than 30,000 young boys and girls have allowed me to learn with them in their classroom. I have not taught anybody, ma'am. I think nobody, we don't teach anybody. But you learn with everybody. And today what I'm going to say as part of my topic is based upon what I have learned with my students, from my students. Because they have been my biggest critics. They have been the ones who have asked the most difficult questions. And when trying to answer the questions, you yourself felt a little better. Sundar sir, you will agree with me that whenever you were doing your PhD and you told somebody, I am doing PhD, if it is a serious researcher, that researcher would have asked you a question. And that question is, do you have an interesting research question? Starting off on your journey, ask yourselves, do you have an interesting research question? And those of you who are going to start your PhD or doing your masters now and thinking of doing research, ask yourself, can you think of an interesting research question? I completed my PhD more than 36 years ago. But even now, Sundarji, people ask me, what did you do your PhD on? And I say, no, that is 36 years ago. No, okay. But tell us what you did your PhD on. Which means, Your PhD is like a chain round your neck which will never leave you. After however many years of your PhD, people will ask you, Biju sir, what will they ask you? What did your PhD topic? So, why am I saying this? Will you always be excited about the research you did? Or will you say, no, after PhD I have done lot of work, ask me about that, don't ask me about PhD. PhD and research, friends, is not a 50-meter race. It is a 10-kilometer marathon. 50-meter race gets over before it starts also. But 10-kilometer marathon, the most important part is after 9 kilometers, 500 meters. That last 500 meters. That's why more than 40% of research work does not get completed. Because that energy for the end is missing. So that's the question. My question is not yet come. Okay. That's the question I want to ask. Do we all have a interesting research question? I'm going to divide this into 6 parts. First, what is the importance of a research question? How do I analyze my research question? How do I develop my research question? I'll take some examples of a good research question in social sciences. Finally, I'll talk about the types of research questions and then try and summarize the entire argument that I have. So can we go to my next slide, which actually says these 6 points. So these are the 6 points I'll cover, and I want to do it in 40 minutes. Sanjay bhai, remind me in 40 minutes. Because I want to give at least 20 minutes for discussions. And you can, as I said, you can ask me a question at any time during my presentation. Let's move to the next slide. In this slide, I talk about the importance of a research question. And friends, look at that quotation in the left-hand corner. Now, all of us should have the same left and same right. And I'm not talking about it politically. Even when we look at the stage, the left you look at and the left I look at should be the same. So the left I'm looking at is there, up there. Ma'am, can you help me with that quotation?
You define the question, you deliver the answer.
This is a famous professor from the London School of Economics. He said, as a researcher, you define the question. Your work doesn't stop there. What do you also have to do? You deliver the answer. A good researcher defines her research question. What is it that is my research question? And after having discovered your research question, what is my answer? This is the job of any and every researcher. And to this I'll add 3 points. I'll add 3 points to make this define and deliver. First point then. That's why, Biju sir, when students come to me and say, what should I do PhD on? I say, I am not telling you. Who should decide what you want to do PhD on? Who should decide? Who should decide? Who should decide? The student or scholar should decide. Why? Otherwise, after 1 year, you will tell me, you only chose the topic, no? You only do the work. Why is there a problem with my research? This teacher gave me such a difficult topic, I can't do my PhD now. So, you are responsible for creating the question and delivering the answer. And remember what Sundar sir said in the earlier session. Here begins my creativity. Ma'am, have you ever felt this? When you heard somebody talk about their research question, did you not think, how did I not think of that research question? Happened or didn't happen? It happens to all of us. How did I not think of that? All of us see with the same eyes. But some people can have the vision to see with that same eyes which you could not see. So, is this something I take a lot of time on? The third point there. Your research question should be a non-obvious puzzle. Is there a relationship between level of education, and I'm talking of when EVMs were not there, before EVMs. Is there a relationship between levels of education and invalid voting? Now, is there a puzzle there? There is no puzzle there. Obviously, there will be a relation. Sundar sir, one of the most nasty questions I heard at a PhD Viva. Imagine, PhD Viva, you are defending your thesis. You know what the examiner asked? What all you have said today as part of your PhD conclusions, could you not have said this without doing a PhD? Think about it. Could you not have said all this without doing PhD? Which means you did not choose a non-obvious puzzle. Now I'm going to play a small game with everybody. And now when I say game, when I start going around, people stop looking at me. People start looking everywhere else now. Because they're afraid I'll come to them and ask them the question. Sir, if you have a chance to do research, a new research project from tomorrow, what will you choose?
I'll choose on something new, which has...
Give me an example.
Actually, I am into a research now.
Tell me.
My research is related to historical IR.
Historical?
IR, international relations.
So what?
So basically, it's about in discipline. As of now, there are no very much studies historically. So I'm breaking a new path.
So what?
Supposedly.
So what? So what?
So I'm contributing to the knowledge system, sir.
So what? So
Nothing more.
nothing more, he says finally. Now, can I confidently, he is a serious researcher. Can a researcher confidently answer this so what question? You want thought of hitting me, no? Foolish fellow, what all questions is he asking me? One so what is okay, twice so what is again and again he's saying so what, so what, so what. What do I want to do? I'm trying to see whether our research question is a non-obvious puzzle. The last point here. What Sundar said this in the morning also. Sundar sir made a reference to this. Do not be one more researcher working on the same problem. Biju sir, once I asked a researcher, what are you working on? Local Panchayati Raj in Kerala. Okay. Why? Why? I want to work on Panchayati Raj in Kerala. Okay. What do you want to do? I want to study comparatively local government in LP district. Why? Last year somebody studied Ernakulam district. This time I want to study LP district. Why? No, I can use that framework that he used for my study. Why? Sundar sir put it in a different way. Is there some new insight I am hoping from my research? If it is what somebody else is doing with minor change here, minor change there, I will go back and ask that person the same question I asked him. What is the question I asked him, sir? So what? A very important question in all research defense. What is it new that your study is contributing to research? What is new? What is the new insight that your study is offering? So for all these reasons, friends, even before I start research, is there an interesting research question? Sanjay ji and I are involved in, now for the last Nearly 30 years now. We have been part of the national election study. We revived it in 1995, and next year, the year after next, it will be 30 years. Each time we do a survey, we ask ourselves, are we simply doing a survey because an election has come? Or is there an interesting research question we want to address? In Madhya Pradesh, we are looking at anti-incumbency, no naming of chief minister. Now look at the dilemma, look at the irony. The BJP does not name its sitting chief minister in Madhya Pradesh, and Congress does not name its sitting chief minister in Rajasthan. Both parties have done it. So our question is, as researchers, why do parties, not party, parties, not name their sitting chief ministers? For both of us, we think this is an interesting research question. And because this is for us an interesting research question, it figures in our questionnaire somewhere. All the questions that we put in our questionnaire is because there is an interesting research question in our mind, which we translate into a question in our questionnaire, which we ask people as part of our survey. Whenever we have meetings, Sanjay ji keeps asking one question. If we have asked this question before, have we used this question in our research? If we have not used it, what's the point of asking it? So, am I very clear as to why I am choosing what I am choosing as part of my research? Taking it forward, there are 4 points which come up now in my next slide. Your research question, 4 issues I want you to think about. Issue number 1. Your research question gives you a focus. When you have a research question, and this research question is something that you have been thinking of for a long time. Sanjay ji will tell us his story possibly in the afternoon. When I started off my PhD work in 1982, Karnataka had been a state which had always voted for the Congress. National election, state election, always Congress. But there was talk that time, this time there may be something different. So as a new researcher, I was asking myself, why will Karnataka be different in 1983? And Karnataka was different in 1983 because for the first time in Karnataka, Congress was defeated. And then started a process which kept bringing to me new research questions. It brought to me newer and newer research questions. And to find answers to those research questions, I continued to pursue research in that area. So, first point, a research question gives a focus to your investigation. What are you doing PhD on? What am I doing PhD on? I have to still decide. How many years over after registration? 2.5 years. And you are still thinking of what you want? Yeah, I am still thinking of what I want to do. How long more will you think? I don't know. I have seen PhD students who, when they were doing their masters, found something intriguing in what they studied and then said, I want to study this as part of my PhD. This is a question that I have in mind. I remember a biotechnology student. We used to have in my university at Jain interdisciplinary research methods class. So I had this biotechnology student in my class and we asked her, what are you doing your PhD on? She said, I am working on developing a particular gadget which will help us detect cancer, especially breast cancer, much earlier. I was a little intrigued by that and said, why did you choose this topic? After some hesitation, she said, I don't want other children to lose their mothers as quickly as I lost my mother. I lost my mother to breast cancer, she said. And if there had been technology at that time available, my mother would not have passed away. I don't want more sons and daughters to be deprived of the opportunity to have their mother with them. Therefore, I am taking this research up. She not only completed her PhD subject became a patent. It was taken up by a company. It has led to a delivery of a market product which helps people today to be able to detect breast cancer early. Now, did my PhD student have an interesting research question? And that interesting research question came from her own life experience. So you don't know what triggers off the research question in your mind. As students of social sciences, as you look at the world around you, suddenly something triggers off a question. And does that question keep you alive as you go forward? And if you decide to pursue research, does that become the focus of your research? My second point, when you have an interesting research question, your research will have certain boundaries. You know within what to look. Researchers sitting here, when you were choosing your PhD topic, and suppose you were in the days when there was no Dr. Google to help you, when you had to go to libraries and look for material, and you wanted to work on, let us say, political parties. Any book, any article which had the word political party, you wanted to take out, read and open. Right? And then you slowly narrowed. Not political parties, state-based political parties. What we call regional political parties. In my writings, I don't say regional because I don't think there's anything regional about them anymore. I say state-based political parties. Their electoral support is limited to a particular state only. There's nothing regional about them. Now, when I say state-based political parties, I don't look at so much material, I look at so much material. Boundaries. My research question helped me define the boundaries of my work. The third point, it gave me a direction. Ma'am, at 1:15, when you go out of this hall, if you don't know where to go, any road is good enough, right? Any road is good enough. But when you know where to go, when Biju sir says lunch is being served there, then it's very clear. You know where to go. So too for a researcher. Your research question provides you the direction. You know what happens to you then? You become like that race horse. Have you? I have never gone horse racing. Biju, you have gone? No betting on horses and all that. Very good boy. Now, I have seen it on television. When the horse runs in a race, do you know there are some blinkers on their eyes? You put blinkers on the eyes of the horse. Why? Why? So that the horse should not look everywhere when running. The horse should only look at the track when running. A researcher similarly has a blinker on the eye. If he or she is sure about the research question. Otherwise, no blinker. I had a PhD student who was not sure about her research question. So every day she used to come to me, Sanjay bhai. Sir, today I met Dr. Sanjay. I said, okay. Dr. Sanjay told, do research on this. I said, okay. The next day she came. Sir, I met Dr. Biju today. I said, okay. Biju sir said that what Sanjay suggested is not good. You do research on this. Okay, I'm going to do research on this. Third day she came to me. Sir, I met Sundar sir, a great philosopher. He told me to do research on this. This or this. Let her first decide what is her area of interest. Otherwise, if you are going to be swayed by everybody and anybody you meet, then the guide like me has a serious problem. Can my research question provide me the direction for my work? It helps me define my topic. It makes it very clear for me what my topic of work should be. And as I said, 10-kilometer race, will you continue to be passionate about your research topic? After 2 years, will you lose interest in it? Your research question should be such that you continue to be passionate about it. And remember, your guides will always tell you as part of research, even if you are a part of a research project or doing your PhD, what is your research hypothesis? Your research question leads to your hypothesis. Your research question leads to the formulating of your hypothesis, and it defines the relationship between the concepts you are studying. For the last few years, as part of Lokniti now for the last, how many years now? For the last 15 years, I have, after every Lok Sabha election, written one article from our data which is on the role of leadership in the election. I looked at 2004, the Vajpayee factor, 2009, the Manmohan Singh factor, people said Singh is king. In 2004, they said good day, not good days are coming. What is that famous one? India shining. 2004, India shining under Vajpayee. 2009, Singh is king. 2014, all of us know what happened. And then 2019. All these 4 elections, I came up with a journal article with my Lokniti friends on leadership. I was looking at the relationship between 2 concepts: elections in India and the leadership factor in elections. Are Lok Sabha elections election of a leader? Are parliamentary elections prime ministerial elections today? This was I was looking at the relationship between 2 concepts. In 2014, we found something interesting. 1/4 of those who voted for the BJP said we would not have voted for the BJP if they had a different prime ministerial candidate. In 2019, 1/3 said that. Sanjay bhai, many people are asking me, how do you think it will be in 2024? 1/4, 1/3. I said, I'm not even going to guess. I'm going to wait for my data to come. Otherwise, I'm not a quantitative analyst. I can't speak without my data. The point I'm raising is relationship between concepts. Sanjay bhai has been working on the caste factor and politics, where you look at what is rhetorically called, do people cast their vote or do people vote their caste? Do people cast their vote or do people vote their caste? This has been an issue which Sanjay ji has been working on for long. Again, relationship between concepts. Or another colleague of ours has been asking the question, is it caste or class? Is it caste or class which is impacting on the nature of electoral results? Again, now, when I ask this question in my mind, is it class or is it caste? I'm raising a research question in trying to understand an electoral outcome. Yeah. How do we develop our research question? What I just now told you is it has been put by Albert Sens in a very different way. Discovery consists in seeing what everybody else has seen and thinking what nobody else has thought. You see? You have seen it, I have seen it with the same eyes. We read the same thing in today's newspaper. But when we went to class, one student analyzed it very differently, and you thought, I also read that, but I could not analyze it in that way. That's because that student, immediately, when she read what was there in the paper, it led to her raising a research question. Can we, and maybe Sundarji can explain this better to us, can we do both lateral thinking and linear thinking? Linear is that same, step by step, stage by stage, process based. Or can we do out of the box thinking? My guide used to often tell me in the 1980s, when I used to make a point to him, he used to say, Sandeep, this is a great point, but everybody is saying this point, can't you not think differently? It was very irritating those days. I did so much of hard work and came up to say this, and he's saying, can you not think differently? But then he forced me to do that thinking differently, which ultimately resulted in my work hopefully presenting a perspective which other works had not presented. At Lokniti, when we, see, everybody thinks that we predict elections. That's not what we do. That anyway, election commission will announce who has won the election. We look at why did somebody win and why did somebody lose? Why did a party do well? Why did a party not do well? When in Himachal Pradesh, on the evening of the election, the Prime Minister announced, we were back from the Congress by only 1 percentage vote. We lost the election by 1 percentage vote. 2 days later, Sanjay ji, Suhas ji and I wrote an article where we said the gap between the BJP and the Congress among the poor was 9 percentage points in Himachal Pradesh. Across groups, yes, 1 percentage point. But among the poor, 9 percentage points. So maybe we gave the answer to why the BJP lost and the Congress won in Himachal Pradesh. So, does your research allow you to think differently? Do you brainstorm your research? Why is it important for researchers to discuss their topic with everybody? Maybe get challenged, maybe be criticized, because then you are forced to think about your topic again. And lastly, as I said a while ago, how do we convert our research question into a hypothesis? Because what is a hypothesis? A tentative formulation to begin your research work. A question remains a question. A research question needs to be converted into a statement which you can test as part of your research. So therefore, the starting point of creating your hypothesis is the interesting research question that you come up with. Now, here are some, I have chosen, at the universities I have worked and conducted research methodology courses, I have chosen research questions which my students came up with from different subjects to undertake their research. Let's have a look at the research questions which are coming up there. Left top, though if you are at the back you may not be able to read that. To what extent are religious organizations currently involved in resolving conflicts and building a culture of peace? This was the research question in the minds of one of my sociology students. To what extent are religious organizations currently involved in resolving conflicts and building a culture of peace? You may have a tentative answer, but you are doing research to find out what does data tell you. What does data show you? Are you able to read there, ma'am? Is that visible? Very convenient, no, because then I can't go to her and ask her to read it out to me. Second one on the left. Should India levy tax on income of digital enterprises, and how do you levy it? In fact, there is a principal commissioner for income tax who is doing her PhD on this topic. She herself is an income tax commissioner. She is interested in doing this study. What are the challenges faced by India in taxing digital enterprises? Today, when business happens online, how do you ensure payment of taxes for online business? This is the question which was intriguing her mind. Or the third one. Morning we had a discussion on it partly. Does the language translation process result in loss of content? When you translate from one language to another language, suppose you knew both Malayalam and Kannada. You are translating a Malayalam writer to Kannada, or you are translating a Malayalam writer to English, or you are translating an English writer's works to Malayalam. Does the translation process result in loss of content? Does it have the same flavor? Sanjay Bhai writes in both Hindi and English. I write in Kannada and English. Many times when I write in Kannada, people ask me, can you give us the English translation? I said, no. I will write the English one separately. When we started our surveys, you know what happened? Sanjay Bhai will remember this very well. We used to first write our questionnaire in English and then translate it into around 16 or 18 languages. And what did we find? There are certain words in English where there is no translation into Indian languages. So then what did we do? We said, let's draft our questionnaire in an Indian language. We started drafting it in Hindi. And then it became much easier to find equivalent words in Indian languages to translate. Is it possible? I'll just give you one example. We were doing an international a survey which is done all over the world. We had to do it in India. There was one question. Do you want a strong leader who need not be worried about winning an election? Think about the question. Do you want a strong leader who need not be worried about winning elections? What happened in India? When you, problem first. When you translate the word strong from English into Indian languages, it develops a positive meaning. Strong is something good to have. So people heard, do you want a strong leader? They said, yes, yes. They didn't hear the full question at all. What was the rest of the question? Who does not need to worry about, people didn't hear that, yeah, I want a strong leader. They said, wait, hear the full question. No, I want a strong leader. So once when presenting at an international conference, I had to say, in the South Asian and Southeast Asian context, the concept of strong leader is very different. It's not like how you look at it in the Western world, the concept of strong. There you see strong as anti-democratic. Here we see strong as decisive. And it makes a world of difference. Or does competition, this is a psychology study, does competition anxiety affect the self-confidence level of age group cricketers playing for different KCA affiliated cricket clubs. This was a study done in Karnataka. Let me give you a background. The PhD student was somebody who formerly played cricket for India at the international level. Unfortunately, he could play only 2 tests because he failed. Because both the times he opened with Sachin Tendulkar. And he was so overawed with Sachin Tendulkar that first time he got out for 3 runs, second time he got out for 0, end of career. So now he then became a coach, a psychological coach for young students, that don't be overawed by whom you are playing with. And this was what the question he developed when he was starting off his PhD. Of course, he reformed the question a lot later. Or you go up there. It's very similar to the earlier question. Does the language translation technique take into account the cultural and regional differences between source language and target language? When you translate, are you keeping in mind cultural and regional differences between source and target language? One last example, I think. How has the anti-hero identity emerged from the second half of the 20th century to post 9/11 episodes in American society? The anti-hero concept. Madam, what is written after that? After that? Your question. Here are examples of questions. And as you start off as researchers, what is your question? What is it that you want to study, which will then be the first step in your research process? I think my final 2 slides. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. This is the last concept I'm going to talk about. Researchers ask 2 types of questions. And what are those 2 types of questions? What we call descriptive questions and exploratory questions. What is descriptive question? What is going on? When I met somebody this morning, I asked them, what is happening in Kerala politics? It was a descriptive question. And that person gave me an account. This is going on, that is going on, that is going on. Descriptive question. There is a second type of research question. Why is it going on? Explanatory question. Why did what happened happen? Since yesterday afternoon, I have been asking myself the question, Biju. Why did what happened in Kochi yesterday happen? Why? We know what happened, but why did this happen? Descriptive questions versus exploratory questions. What do we imply by a descriptive question? There you describe the situation. If Sanjay Bhai asks me, Sandeep Bhai, after Congress came to power in Karnataka, what's happening? Right. After they came to power, this has happened, and then that has happened, and then that has happened. And then Sanjay Bhai may ask me the question I asked him, which is, what are the 2 words? So what? What is Sanjay Bhai telling me? Go from description to explanation. But then description is important. Can you press all of them? Press it again. Yeah. You can't explain something unless you have described something. If you go to a good counselor, the counselor will tell you, tell me what all happened. You go to a doctor for the first time when you have a problem, what will that doctor do? Don't tell me what's happening now, tell me. They will write down the whole history there. They want a description of what happened. Because that description helps you to understand the issue. What comes before why? What happened? What happened? Then ask the question why it happened. The law now to provide 1/3 reservation for women in the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies. What happened? What happened after all these years? And what happened just 1 year before the election? When will it come into force? Many people tell me not in my lifetime. Because the law says this will be done with delimitation. And when will delimitation be done? After the results of the 2020, after the results of a census done after 2026. And what does past experience tell you? That at least for 5 years after the census, delimitation commission, all that work happens. Which means, Sanjay bhai, which election? May not be 2029. Maybe, I am not saying will be, maybe 2034 or maybe even 2039. So, is this a check with a day, with a check with an amount, but no date and no signature? By no signature, I mean you don't know when it will, when you can encash it. No date means 2024, 2029, 2034, 2039. So what? Then the question of why? Then why did they pass it? Why could they not say with immediate effect? Why not delink it from delimitation? Could they be made separate measures? Now, the what descriptive question provokes the why question. It provokes the why question. But there is a problem with descriptive research, which I am sure Sundarji has experienced a lot. People keep on describing. Sanjay and I also have this problem. People tell us, okay, you say 40%, 20%, 30%, 10%, 5%, said this, said that, all that. Where is the analysis? You are just describing your data. This happens with a lot of PhD students. I found this, I found that, I found that. Yes, but so what? If you found all that, so what? Where is the next part? Can we take the slide forward? Yeah, thank you. Where is the explanation, the explanatory question? The focus on the explanation, the focus on the consequences. Women's bill, consequences. Why are they not implementing it from 2029, 2024? All those who passed the bill would have been shivering in their pants if they had passed it for 2024, because most of them would have been worried, what happens to my seat? Why did they pass the 73rd and 74th amendment so easily? Because it was not about their seat, somebody else's seat is going, no? And they extracted their pound of flesh in 73rd, 74th amendment, which is MLAs, MPs are ex officio members of the Zilla Panchayat. And remember, in Karnataka and Kerala, the 73rd and 74th amendment took Panchayat Raj bodies not 2 steps forward, but 3 steps backward. This is the irony. When we fell in line with the national framework, we actually went 2 steps backward from what we were already doing. And I can go into those details, but this is not the moment for that. Explain it. Now, what are the consequences of what we did? This explanatory question could be both comparative or analytical. And as part of your research, when you talk about creating your research design, it is based on this research question that you create. So friends, I promised I would stop in 45 minutes. I'll do that now. Broadly, can you just take me to my last slide? Broadly, to conclude, let's make 4 points to conclude. Does my research question help me to focus clearly my research topic? That would be my first point. My second point would be, does my research question in important ways provide a clear direction for my research? Point number 3, have I thought enough about my research question? Because will I continue to be passionate about my research question, not just today, not just this year, but maybe 10 years from now? Will I continue to be passionate about my research question? And finally, will my research question see in me the patience and perseverance to pursue my research? So that's why, friends, I believe it's important to have interesting research questions. I'll stop with that and be happy to respond to questions that may be there about what all I have said today. Thank you so much for giving me such a patient hearing. So who has the first question? If you are by mistake scratching your head, I would think you are raising your hand to ask a question. I'm looking at the back first because I want to give the first chance to students who are here to raise a question. And please feel free to raise it in Malayalam also. I can understand your question, but I'll have to answer in English. Please. Sir, students don't ask. You told me your students have lost a lot of questions. Your professor told me you all ask a lot of questions. So don't let down your professor. So who is starting? Who has the first question?
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation, and the clarity is much appreciated, I think. And my doubt came during your presentation itself, but it made with more clarity when you talked about 2 types of researches, that's the descriptive and the explanatory one. And you told about the vote percentage, that's 25% and 33%, 1/4 and 1/3. And that's a descriptive analysis, I think. And description cannot stop there. There will be an analytical aspect, which you may be linking with some of the hypotheses, some of the conceptual element, why the percentage. And that should enable you to predict the 2024 election. So my question is, what you predict for the 2024 election, and what's the reason for that? How you link with that percentage shift?
He's not asking a research question, he's asking a political question. Sanjay bhai, will you want to answer that? Because difficult questions I'll give you, easy questions I'll answer. I would want Sanjay bhai also to respond to this question. Yes. 2014 and 2019 data can help me look at what possibly would happen in 2024. Yes. In 2014, while the BJP declared Mr. Modi as their prime ministerial candidate, you also had a pretty discredited UPA government which helped them a lot to win the election. In 2019, there was nobody to blame for the last 5 years. You were now in power, so you had to defend yourself. So you see how the narrative changed. In 2014, you said, good days are coming. Remember? Achhe din. In 2019, when anybody said good days are coming, I asked them question mark or exclamation mark after good days are coming. Is it question mark or exclamation mark? Because in 2019, the whole concept underwent a change. In 2019, was there a single NDA candidate among the 500 plus candidates, even a single one, who did not say in his or her campaign that voting for me is voting for Prime Minister Modi? And you know what we found? This is much more also among non-BJP NDA candidates. And you see how things have changed. Shiv Sena all Shiv Sena MPs in Maharashtra said, you are not voting for Shiv Sena, you are voting for. I wonder whether Thackeray's group will say that now also. So you saw that clear shift in 2024, in 2019. If you ask me what is my hunch is that percentage will go up this time among BJP voters. But that's my hunch, my hypothesis. I'll wait for my data to come to again decide, to find an explanation to what happened then. Otherwise, I'm not doing justice to my role as a quantitative analyst. But Sanjay bhai, would you like to say something on that question? Post-lunch, yes, a series of questions, similar questions post-lunch possible. Anybody else? Thank you, sir, for that question. I'm still looking at the students. No? I've given you the option also of asking your question in Malayalam if you want to. You have a question? Yeah. No? I thought you have a question. Sorry? No. Generally, when there are no questions, I draw two conclusions. You understood nothing, or you understood everything, and both are not possible. There will be some doubt somewhere, at least. So I'm just provoking you all to ask a question. My colleagues, faculty members, anybody? The question? Yes?
Yes, sir.
He had the advantage of seeing my PowerPoint before I presented it also. Go ahead.
Sir, in the current scenario, the importance of research and questions are very important in the present situations. But actually, most of the Indians or most of the people are not aware of the importance and what we are using the research and their questions. For that, in future, what are the importance and what will determine the research and their questions in Indian? How will the future education system or the future students will determine or progress of the research methodology in India?
I hope everybody heard our friend's question. His view is that researchers do not seem to give enough importance to thinking about their research question. And his question was, how do we as researchers focus much more on our research question? Now, I'll answer this in two ways. One, are you doing research out of passion, or are you doing research for a degree? Many times when people register for PhD, I ask them, why do you want to do PhD? Sir, my promotion is held up, so I have to do PhD. Why are you doing PhD? Sir, UGC has made a rule now that if I have to become associate professor, I must have PhD. So what's the purpose of doing PhD? So that's the question. So any question you give is okay then, because I have to get that degree called PhD. So why am I doing research? Will I focus on the research question? Yes, if I am passionate about my research. I am not saying don't do research for the sake of the degree, but with the degree is the passion there. I am sure Sundar sir has seen that in lectures he has delivered to research groups. Sometimes you can see the passion in your audience. And when they stand up and talk about their research topic, their eyes will gleam. Their lips will smile. More because they are thinking of their research topic. Now, if that passion for research is there, you are 24/7 somewhere. Sundar sir used that word. Your unconscious mind is thinking about what you want to pursue for your research. Now, what he said, give a period of time for that rumination to happen, for that thinking to happen, for that germination of the idea to happen in your mind. Now, when does that happen? When you pursue research as a passion. Sundar sir, I often ask a very uncomfortable question. How much research do people do after getting their PhD degree? Is the PhD end of research or beginning of research? Is your PhD degree end of research? Or like Biju sir, do you continue to write even after research? Now, if you continue to do research after PhD, then that passion is there. Otherwise, a lot of people, and I'm being honest about it, a lot of people, research ends with PhD. Therefore, when I was heading a university, I became very unpopular for that. I said, you cannot become a guide just because you have a PhD. After your PhD, show us 3 publications you have in good journals, or show us research projects you have done, which justifies making you a guide. Because your PhD was for yourself. To guide others, you have to show proof of work after PhD. People didn't like it. But that's the question. You will start thinking of your research question when PhD is about the passion or the research is about your passion. When you are passionate about the study you want to do. We will see this afternoon. When Sanjay Bhai starts talking about elections, now, you wake him up in the middle of the night, he will start talking about elections. That's because he is passionate about it. Just as I am passionate about it. That passion is visible in how you present your research. It becomes visible in the time you spend to be able to develop your research topic. I have, in my 30-year research career, guided more than 17, 18 PhD students. And around those days, there was something else called MPhil. So around 30 MPhil students have worked under my guidance. The most difficult time for all my PhD students and MPhil students was the first 3 months of registration. The first 3 months I said, no, you have to come up with your research question. And when you come up with your research question, I will come up with a counter research question. And can you defend your research question now on the basis of my counter question? And when I used to tell that to them beforehand only, they would take some time to come to me with their research question. Because they were worried about, they used to think, one of them told me afterwards, so I used to think about what will be your counter question to my question. So, is that something that you have given enough thought to? Why are you doing this PhD? Remember what I said, a non-obvious puzzle. If the answer is very clear, then why do PhD on that? It should be a non-obvious puzzle. It needs to be something which your research will show you. Your field work will show you. Let me take, with everybody's permission, one example. In Lokniti, when we do our election studies, all our field investigators are actually students. Undergraduate, postgraduate and research students. Because our social science students tell us, unlike the science students, we don't have a laboratory. And like Sundar said, we tell our students the whole world is your laboratory. So we give a chance to our researchers, our undergraduate, postgraduate students to go to the field as part of data collection. Of course, we pay them. They also get a certificate which has helped many of them get scholarships in foreign universities to pursue their masters and PhD. I'm going to refer to an incident that happened in 1999. 1999, we had a snap election. I had gone to my class to ask the students who is going to do the survey. One girl lifted her hand and said, I will do, but I have a condition. See, all you students have conditions to do work what we tell you to do. What was her condition, Sundar sir? She told me, sir, I live in Bangalore. You must send me to a village. Because I have never lived in a village. Heart of heart, I was very happy. Because those days it was difficult to get girls to go to the village to do a survey. But I made it look that I am making a special effort to send you to a village. And told her, okay, go. Survey was to start the day after the election. This girl was so excited about the work she is doing. She went to the village on the day of the election itself. And she was shocked. You know why? At 9 o'clock in the morning, 50 people are standing in the line to vote. She had never seen this in Bangalore. 50 people in a line. Now, she had seen 50 people in front of cricket stadium for a cricket match. She had seen 50 people in front of provision store. She had seen 50 people in front of a liquor shop. But never for voting. So she watched that line very carefully. In the 13th or 14th position, there was a lady standing, waiting to go in. Somehow my student, that lady, my student was fascinated by that person. She went in, voted, came out. When she came out, my student went up to her. This is not part of our survey, this is her own survey. My student went up to her and asked her in Kannada, Amma, did you vote? No. Suppose you were the person, what would you have said? You have been standing there, you saw me go in. You think I went in to have tea or coffee there? But this lady was very nice. She told my student, yes, I voted. My student asked second question. From Shastri sir's class, this question came. Whom did you vote for? Because in the class I had taught Sanjay Bhai that voting is sacred, voting is secret. Nobody tells who they voted for. Now, is this Shastri sir correct or wrong? Let me find out. Whom did you vote for? What did this lady say? I don't know who I voted for. Now, this was not taught in the classroom. What she actually meant was, I can't read and write. So I looked for the symbol and put that time. No, she said, I put it on the symbol. That's what she meant. I don't know who I voted for. She thought this person was asking the name. I don't know the name. I know the symbol. Then my student asked a third question, some other teacher, not my class. Do you think this voting will make any difference in your life? No difference in my life. Then why did she wait for 45 minutes in the line? Then another teacher had told her some people are paid money to vote. So maybe this is that category. But how to ask her? But this lady saw the dilemma on my student's face and said, come, I'll explain to you what happened. They both sat down. Then this lady asked my student, did you see the line I was standing in? Yes. You know who was behind me? No. The richest landlord of this village was behind me. Behind him, you know who was there? I am a daily wage laborer. The man who organizes the labor, he was standing behind. And do you know who was behind him? By now my student was fully confused. Why this who is who of the village? Behind was, there's only one temple in this village, the priest of that temple was standing behind. And then my student says afterwards to me, sir, this lady who has only completed 8th standard taught me a lesson in political science you people never taught in the classroom. And what was that lesson, man? This lady asked my student, child, is there any other line in my country where I can do my job before these people can do their job? Is there any other line in this country where I can do my job before these people can do their job? On election day, if I come early, I can stand in front of all these people. That's why I come to vote. It makes me feel important. And my student said, you never taught this in the class. Of course, I was a little clever by then. I told her, that's why I sent you to the field. But more seriously, once this girl completed her master's in 2000, she went abroad for her PhD. And the same question was in her mind, Sundarji. Why do people vote? So she came back to the same village to search for this lady, but she couldn't find her anywhere. Gone. So, very sadly, she was going out when she saw the Zilla Panchayat office. She went in, and you know what? The lady was sitting inside there. She was now an elected Zilla Panchayat member. And the lady said, my journey began where? Standing in that queue. I thought one day, standing in that queue, rather than standing in the queue, why should not people stand in the queue to vote for me? 2010, when she came for a postdoctoral work, the lady had become the Adhyaksha of the Zilla Panchayat. And where did the journey begin? Sundarji, this lady wrote an article which said, elections are not only about voting, it is about a fundamental social transformation in society. A fundamental social transformation happening in society. So, it took 12 years for a research question to be answered for her. But that research question came into her mind in 1999. So, sir, you are writing it all down? 12 years. So is it too long a period to wait? Have I thought? Now, when I think through my research question, I'm passionate about doing it. I'm ready to answer any questions that people have if I have thought through my research question. Maybe, Viju sir, time for one more question?
Thank you, sir, for wonderful speech. Myself, Srinish. In my question, in social science research, government data are very important and very important for designing and problemating research question. But we all know, but nowadays, the government data like National Family Health Survey or Census or Indian Institute of Population Studies or some other, it's all missing or manipulating. So in this scenario, as a researcher, how can we find a research question?
Our friend here has a very important question. How important is authenticity of my data to be able to address my question? Today, what is the employment rate or unemployment rate? Nobody knows which is the right data. What is the inflation rate? Nobody knows the right data. We got into some trouble where our study found how many people listen to a particular program, whereas government said much more listen to that program. So which data is correct? So as a researcher, my first step has to be 100% sure myself that the database I'm using is authentic. And if I have a doubt, I think a researcher has this today, the capacity to use multiple databases to decide the authenticity of the base of data he needs. I'll give you an example. In 1995, I think, I had a PhD student who was working on the IAS in Karnataka. And one of the points he was looking at is the tenure of what in Kerala you call collector, and in Karnataka what we call commissioner, deputy commissioner, what you call district collector. His hypothesis was the average tenure of a deputy commissioner or collector is actually going down. The average tenure is reducing. So what did he do? He wrote to DPAR Karnataka saying, I want the data on the tenure from 1956 to today of the commissioners of the district. What did DPR reply? Information not available. What did my research student do? That time there were 22 districts in Karnataka. He took 1 month's leave from work and he went to all 26 district headquarters. And in district headquarters, in collector's office, there is one wood board, no? First commissioner went, second, third, fourth, fifth. He went and photographed that in all the district offices. And this is how he collected his data. All 22 offices he went, took a photograph, came back, analyzed and concluded that DC's tenure has gone down from 36 months average, 3 years, to 18 months on an average. See, when data not given to you through the direct route, you find out a way by which you can collect the data. And it's critical as a researcher. I don't simply depend on any data that comes to me, but I make sure my data is authentic. So what do Sanjay ji and all of us do as part of Lokniti? If we write a 3,000 word article for the newspaper, be it Hindu or Indian Express or any of them, with the article we insist there should be at least 800 to 1,000 words on our methodology. We publish a larger methodology note on our website. Because if somebody has to believe in my data, they should know my methodology. And that's what I was discussing with Sanjay Bhai this morning over breakfast. How many studies today actually put up their methodology? If I have to believe in the conclusion you are drawing, I want to see your methodology. But who reveals the methodology today? So why should I trust the studies that are happening when I have no access to the methodology? So as a researcher, am I 100% sure that the data I am using is authentic? Am I 100% sure that the data I am using is verifiable and is appropriate? Now that is a check a researcher needs to have right in the beginning, and that's why today a lot of researchers are using what is called mixed method. Not simply depending on quantitative data, but supplementing the study with qualitative data and case studies also. Because there are many questions which quantitative data cannot answer. So you use qualitative and other data to be able to address those questions. So I hope that answers the question you raised.